Hey, and welcome back to the podcast on EQUIP412. We're so glad that you've joined with us today. I'm your host, Dustin Logan, and if you're joining us today for the first time, we want you to know that our team is passionate about providing resources to equip the everyday servant. So whether your ministry is to serve as a deacon, a greeter, a Sunday school teacher, a youth worker, a bus worker, musician, a church missionary, or pastor, we want you to know that we're here to help you excel in your personal ministry and in your daily walk with Christ. In today's episode, we're continuing episode number 3. I've titled it, Encouragement During Trying Times. If you find that the content in this podcast is helpful to you, would you please take a moment and share it with your family and friends? Because we are here to help everyone excel in their personal ministry. No doubt the recent days have been especially challenging and unprecedented as we navigate through the pandemic, as we navigate through other challenges that we've seen in our nation. But in spite of these challenges, in spite of these times of difficulty, I have been incredibly encouraged to draw strength from the people that I serve. Our church community has provided a foundation of support and encouragement during these times. So today I want to encourage you to find your faith leader, to find your employer, to find those in your organization that are leading you and encourage them with some of these principles as well. One thing I've realized is that even in the wake of these moments, there are still going to be future demanded adjustments in the days ahead. Just because your organization, your church, your business, your ministry, your state opens their doors does not mean that people will return as they once were. There will be people who are skeptical, they're unsure, they're uncertain, and just because your organization opens the doors doesn't mean they'll return. Now, for the leader, that can be discouraging and pose certain challenges in itself. As your pastor may have once been used to a full congregation, now things are starting to open up slowly, and it may go back to a quarter size of the congregation. There are certain challenges with that in mind. And just because your organization opens the doors doesn't mean that things will be like they were. That favorite seat that you enjoy sitting in at the restaurant, eating chips and salsa, that seat may no longer be available. They may have moved it. They may have gotten rid of it to consolidate the size of the restaurant to meet the needs of the guidance and directives. And just because when you go to church doesn't mean that your favorite church pew or your favorite chair or your favorite aisle would be available. It's possible that when you walk in, there'll be red tape there, that there'll be a line of staggered pews, and we want to encourage you that you have the power and the opportunity to encourage your leader, because it's different not just for you, it's different for your leader too. The person on the platform who's preaching to you is out looking in the congregation, looking for your face, looking for where you are, and if you're not in that seat, it's different for them as well. Just because your organization opens the doors doesn't mean that all of the questions are going to be answered. I believe that as we start to see our states go into phase 2, as we see more businesses open up, as we see more churches open up, this is going to lead to more questions that need to be answered. And there has never been a time that is more right to take the opportunity to encourage your leaders in your family, your church, your community, your business, or organization. The time has never been more right than now. So let me share with you some ways that our church community has encouraged me as a leader. Number one, there has been flexibility. I have been incredibly encouraged by the flexibility of our congregation. After receiving feedback from a recent survey, I was talking to a pastor who recognized that their congregation, like ours, was basically split into 3 perspectives. A third of the church community wanted to come back yesterday. Another third was nowhere near ready. And the third final group said that they would come, but it would be with much caution. What do you want us to do with that exactly? And so that is incredibly difficult to navigate through. Those challenges, those perspectives all pose their challenges. And so you can be an encouragement to your leader by providing flexibility. My experience has been similar with the threefold perspectives. And our church family has been incredibly flexible. We've faced many detours along the way, but we've shifted lanes as we've gone online. We have seen our community stay together. We've seen people challenging one another, encouraging one another, and they've shifted lanes very, very well. Just this past week, we were supposed to be meeting in our Sunday school groups using one phone conference call, and we ended up having to move to another conference line because when we logged onto it, initially it kicked us off, and we had to log off of that and go to the next. So we've navigated through these lane changes pretty flexibly, and I'm thankful for all that we've seen through the flexibility and this encouragement. Also, we've been able to put needs of others before ourselves. You know, there are three perspectives, and your way is not the only way. Your way may not necessarily be the right way. And so we have to consider all of these perspectives and be flexible as we navigate through this time together. Number two, not only can you encourage your leaders by being flexible, you can encourage your leaders through engagement. It takes hours to produce the content that is made available online for our church families. And so when you are engaged, you are an incredible encouragement to your leaders. It takes hours of preparation, of study, of thought development, of producing the content, recording the content, editing the content, and I cannot tell you how many takes and retakes and bloopers I have experienced through producing this content. So when you are engaged in your local church or in your business or in your community, it is encouraging to see the engagement in our services and in our classes. When people are engaged to the content through commenting, downloading discussion guides, using Zoom conference calls in classes and groups, making more phone calls and text messages, that is encouraging. And I have seen some positive growth trends in our own church for those that have been involved in the engagement process. We've been able to engage through worship, teaching opportunities, prayer, children's ministry, online curriculum, and survey feedback. And that's another one that I want to key in on. When it comes to engagement, engage in the feedback of the surveys that your church provides. Whenever you engage in feedback, your leaders, listen, they're there to serve you. They're there to serve alongside you. They're there to help you. And when you provide feedback, you help them to know how to accomplish that with the best quality available. But if you don't provide feedback, they don't know how to navigate through these ropes and through these challenges. It reminds me of the Apostle Paul as he's writing to the church of Thessalonica. He sends Timothy with the letter, but what is incredibly encouraging is they send a letter back to Paul. You see, if Paul was the only one writing the letter to the church of Thessalonica, they would have known how he was feeling. But if they chose not to communicate back to him, he would never know how they were feeling. I believe that we need to have a two-way communication here as we engage in conversation by providing feedback through surveys and other avenues. That will encourage your spiritual leaders. Number three, you can provide encouragement by being flexible, provide encouragement by engaging, and number three, provide encouragement by supporting your ministry leaders. As we are all faced with unprecedented times in our businesses, our churches, our families, our organizations, governments, we have never faced these days in our lifetime. And we don't know exactly what the right way to navigate through these are. There's not a plan book that lays out the steps for us. But our ministry team and our COVID response team has provided incredible encouragement through this. And I want to encourage you, support your deacons, support your ministry team leaders, support your committees, support those that are working alongside your pastor and your organization leaders to help them to navigate through these days together. As you support them, we are all supporting each other. And I believe that when the tide rises, all of us should rise together. And we should all encourage one another together instead of trying to focus on just our way and what we want. We can support our ministry leaders and let them know that we appreciate what they're doing and that we want to support and strengthen them. Just yesterday, as I was on a COVID response team call, I read a letter, a note of encouragement to our team, because it was written to me, but it's not just written to me. It's written to the team that's supporting me, strengthening me, walking through this with me, because without them, this would not be possible. Let me read it to you. Just a note to let you know how much you are appreciated for what you are doing during this time. You have been a good shepherd by taking care of Christ's flock. Thank you for continuing to do God's work through. We love you. And that is not only shared to me, but I share that encouragement with our ministry team, because as a pastor, when I came here 2.5 years ago, I met with the pulpit search committee, and I shared with them, if you want me to come, I won't come alone. I will have the privilege of serving with a ministry team, and they've helped me to navigate through that, and I could not be an effective pastor today walking through this crisis of this pandemic without the support and the strength of our ministry team leaders. So I've been able to rely on them strongly and be able to go through this and navigate through this with the support of an incredible team. So encourage your team leaders, because your church cannot go through this without them. And if you're in a pastorless church, your ministry leaders are more important now than ever before, and they need to know that you're going to be with them, not that you just tell them, hey, we're with you. Show them by supporting your ministry leaders. It's an encouragement. And finally, encourage your team by maintaining realistic expectations. One thing that I've sensed through this whole process is only realistic expectations. I've not at any time sensed an undue pressure to do more because somebody else was, or to do more of what somebody else was doing. We have been incredibly encouraged to be able to do what we do, to do our best, and to leave the rest. And so for the first time, I have been able to be in. I think that that's the kind of expectations that we should communicate to our pastors and to our community leaders and to our faith leaders. Just do your best and leave the rest. And let's encourage one another today by being flexible, by engagement, supporting ministry leaders, and maintaining realistic expectations. Hey, thank you for joining with us. Our next podcast will be available in the month of July. It airs on the second Thursday of each month. So we'll look forward to being with you again on July the 9th, 2020. Thank you for joining us for episode number 3, Encouragement During Trying Times.